It had been 1 month since the world took my life away from me, but it felt like a day with each passing minute. Mom and Dad were probably rolling in their graves laughing at me. After all, they told me not to marry him. Why did they have to leave me on this piece of shit planet filled with ungrateful cunts? Why did he have to play the role of the hero, always? Why did you have to die first? Now I was left to suffer the consequences. People who never cared about him, running around masquerading their hatred with a smile as if they didn't want him dead. Now I'm stuck with their pity. I don't need their pity. I stared at my phone as it rang. It was Annie. Another caller trying to shower their pity on me. I didn't want to pick up the call, but we hadn't spoken in years. Oh, one call couldn't possibly hurt, right?
Hey, Zoey, I just heard about Saul's passing. I'm so sorry, sweetie. How are you holding up?
No shit. Just when I thought this one would be different. She sounded like I was a homeless kid pleading for $1. What the hell was I supposed to say? Annie, thank you. I really appreciate it, I replied in a weary tone.
Oh, it hurts, I know. Losing a husband can be depressing. You have to suffer the trauma, and I am not saying I understand, but I'm here for you whenever you need me.
Someone hand me a gun? Let me save myself from this torment. Thank you, Annie. Annie was a close friend of mine, even though we had our fights. I still saved a spot for her in my heart, always.
You know what? What if I came to see you?
Hell no. Not even on my deathbed. I know people say I nag a lot, but all Annie talks about when we're together is how perfect her husband and kids are. I think I've heard enough of that to last me a lifetime. I think I'll pass on that. Sorry. Gotta be reporting back to duty tomorrow, but yeah, we should definitely catch up when I'm back. Yeah, she heard me. Anyway, I really did have to be back at the ISS the following day.
Okay, Zoey. Take care now, and remember, even though Saul is gone, he lives on in our hearts.
Oh, sweet Christ, Zoey Fitzsimmons. You just had to leave me with this daily load of bullshit, didn't you? The call ended as my eyes met the clock in my bedroom. Are you kidding me? It's already 11 p.m.? People say time flies when you're having fun. But there was nothing fun about that day. And the following day looked bleak, too. Bear level hungry, I stood up and walked into the kitchen. I still couldn't believe I would be returning to that piece of shit station. I mean, I loved my job, but couldn't stand the people there. The hassle to prepare a meal proved excessive, and so I retired to the comfort of my bed, drearily in need of rest before the next day. The shrill of my alarm clock was nerve-wracking. I jolted to life. It was 5 a.m. Oh, shut up! I slammed the power button off. I flung my right arm to the other side of the bed, hoping I could feel the presence of Saul there. But there was nothing. Not that I wouldn't freak out if I had felt someone there, but that's not the focus right now. Pushing myself off the bed, I dizzily walked into the bathroom to do a few morning routines. 11 months. 11 months and I could still smell his aftershade pervading the air around me. Standing in front of a 6-foot mirror in my uniform 20 minutes later, I couldn't help but say to myself, okay, time to act like a strong woman who still has her shit together and didn't lose her husband to aliens because her leaders wanted to take over a fucking world. As if that wasn't enough, they still wanted to colonize another planet in the Tau Ceti region. The same fucking region. My phone buzzed. It was my chauffeur. Morning, Ramirez. I know you're outside. I think NASA can wait a few more minutes. Wouldn't you agree?
Roger that, ma'am.
I could hear the badly suppressed chuckle from his end as I hung up. Picking up my bags, I locked my door behind me as Ramirez rushed out of the car to carry my luggage. It wasn't a long drive to NASA. I always hated the fact that Saul had to buy a house just around where we worked. You don't eat where you shit, Saul, I muttered to myself. Oh God, as we drove past security, I could see it in their eyes. Pity. I tried my best to avoid everyone I knew as I sneaked into the astronaut crew quarters. At least the pity was less there. Zoey! A euphonic voice called out. It was Frank Murphy. He looked excited to see me. I could have sworn that smile was because Saul was dead. Give me a hug, would ya? He wouldn't wait for an answer. He didn't wait for anything. He just hugged me. God, the balls on this guy. Hey, I'm so sorry about Saul. It always has to be the good ones, you know? He sighed. He was the best of us, Zoey. The best. I felt like rolling my eyes to what he just said, but I pulled myself together. Thank you, Frank. But hey, you're a commander now. The ISS couldn't be better led. His face cringed in a nasty frown, which could only mean one thing. No, Zoey, I'm not the new commander. Those cunts up the ladder gave it to someone else. Can you believe that? Oh, Frank, I'm so sorry to hear that. I gotta go now. Launch is due in 20 minutes. He just stood there, lost in his own thoughts as I turned and headed for the crew quarters. A large space fitted with 3 suit containment rooms, one for Orion, Boeing, and SpaceX. The crew quarters also included a hallway which led to a kitchen, pantry, dining room, lounge, 2 conference rooms, a gym, 2 laundry rooms, and a flight of surgeons' offices. All state-of-the-art. Hey, you must be Zoey Fitzsimmons. I'm Yoshida Hikairu from Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Damn! Nobody told me East Asian men looked like this. Attractive. I always thought they all wore glasses and stayed in their mother's basement. Hikairu was definitely an exception. But I couldn't tell him that. I had to sound professional. You must be the new commander. I'm honored, sir. I stretched out my hand for a firm handshake. And you must be the wife of our fallen hero. May he find peace in the afterlife. There it was again. Pity. Yeah, we should get ready. I tried drifting the conversation to a different direction. The press had gathered to record our takeoff as if we were going to the moon for the first time. My spacesuit felt itchy as Hikairu and I walked towards the administrator. Why do I always get the itchy suits, for God's sakes? As we drew closer to Mr. Xavier, the administrator of NASA, the cameras raided us with photos. It's painful having to act like I was okay with that crap. The smiling, waving, it was all exhausting. Then there was the one thing lurking behind the flashing lights. Pity. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our astronauts, the administrator said as the crowd went wild. We waved at them while making our way into the Discovery space shuttle. This was Haikairu's first flight to the ISS, aside from the simulation he used to prepare for it. Prepare for takeoff in 5. I didn't know whether it was right, but I held Haikairu's hands. My heart throbbed heavily in my chest. Why the hell did I do that? He looked at me and squeezed my hand softly, yet in a reaffirming manner. I was so much in my thoughts I didn't notice the shuttle had taken off. Finally, the part of my job I loved. We had just passed the stratosphere when the rocket boosters fell off. Their job was done. The main engine picked up immediately when the capsule exited the planet. 408 kilometers later, and there it was, the ISS. I radioed the station. STS-1, are you ready for us? Affirmative, ma'am. You're cleared for landing, a woman replied. The docking ring extended from our shuttle and connected to the ISS. We waited a few seconds while ISS port confirmed our entry. The door connecting to the station opened. Ah, finally, I exclaimed. 3 officials welcomed us. The place seemed busy as if they weren't expecting us. I had to admit that I missed that piece of shit station. The awkward but nice smell that lingered in the air. I headed straight to my quarters. I needed some rest. As I sat on my bed, I wished it were a little bit soft like the ones back home. I took off the suit and started for the bathroom to wash the stress I felt from the exhausting trip. Afterwards, I got out of my room and walked through the alley leading to the control room, kitchen, and the laboratory. I didn't want to run into any crowds at the moment, so I entered the kitchen. Madam Zoey, Beth said as she rushed to give me a hug. Beth, I didn't know you were here. How has it been here? She didn't look so optimistic after my inquiry to her well-being. Well, since we lost Monsieur Saul and you left for your rest, things changed fast. What do you mean by changes? We all know something went wrong at Tau Ceti. Beth was about to add something when George and Xerxes barged into the cafeteria. There she is! You didn't even think of looking for your boys? George said, drawing near to us. George and Xerxes were friends to Saul. They were part of the team Saul took to Tau Ceti for Project COL-8. George and Xerxes were the only survivors. What a joke. I always had the feeling that they weren't telling the whole truth of what really happened in the Tau Ceti region. Guys, come on. You know how tiring the journey here can be. I was so exhausted I had to rest a little before coming out. Well, we missed you. And we have a surprise for you, Xerxes said, grinning. Not interested. Come on, you'll love it. I'll pass. I'm still pretty exhausted anyway. Jerks. A few minutes later, I was sitting on my bed, drowning in my thoughts. That the knock on my door startled me. Come in. Girl, you need some real ass whooping thinking you could come up in this shitty place without telling your best girl. Kesha, come here, silly, I said, walking towards her for an embrace. Kesha was the closest to family I had in the ISS. We had been friends since the first time she mistook Saul to be my brother. Girl, I have missed you. Don't tell me you forgot to bring me the Uncle Joe's special grilled cheese sandwich, she said. Oh, shit, no, I'm so sorry. Nah, I'll just take it out of your paycheck. Are you trying to rob me? Call it paying your dues. She laughed, then paused. Hey, how have you been holding up? Thanks, by the way. I'll survive. So, what's up? Suddenly her smile faded, and her voice turned down to a whisper. NASA? has been sending Russians up here frequently. The laboratory is off limits, save for them and the commander. Our holidays have been canceled. They're working on Project COL8 again. Girl, all these things started a few months after Saul's death. I didn't need my sixth sense to tell me something was terribly wrong here. But we're glad you're back. At least some things will change. I hope so, I said, sighing heavily. I'll catch you later, girl. Kesha embraced me again, then left the room. I couldn't help but wonder why they went on to start Project COL8 again. Oh, they never gave a shit as long as it was our lives on the line and not theirs. Bastards, I muttered. But I wondered in my mind why they would be doing this shortly after Saul's death. Someone banged on my door. The new commander wants to meet with everyone in the control room. All right, I'll be right there. I needed to talk to Beth. She definitely knew something and was about to tell me before these assholes interrupted. I got out of my room and headed to the control room. We need you prepared, Hikaru said immediately when I entered. Prepared for what? Yes, it won't, Carl. Show her. Hikaru said as a Russian man in his mid-20s projected an image. It's only 11.9 light years from us. Tau Ceti is the closest sun-like star. Carl, we went over this the first mission. You don't have to do it again, I said, smiling. It was like a political rally there. Everyone was in groups. The Russians stood apart from the rest of the crew, as if we smelled like rat shit. We believe the first mission was a failure because of the amateurish plan ex-Commander Saul executed. But thanks to the JAXA and ESA, we have a better plan, Hikaru said. Amateurish plan? That's my husband you're talking about. Was. But I'm sorry, Zoey, I meant no offense. It's just that they could barely access the Tau Ceti orbit before they were attacked. But now, through the help of our Russian friends, we'll be able to access Tau Ceti E, Hikaru added as the Russian crowd applauded. What the hell is going on? I had to admit I was scared. So, you're just suggesting that we go back to that death trap? I'm not suggesting. It's a command, flight engineer, Hikaru said firmly. Type 1 is ready for use now, so the journey won't be a worry. Type 1 isn't ready for use, I said. Zoey, don't piss me off. I said it's ready. So do your duty before I rain brimstone on you, Hikaru said as he walked out. I knew Type 1 wasn't ready for use. It was Saul's machine. He believed it could fly as fast as dark speed. I always called him crazy for that. Well, this was going to be a suicide mission, and I didn't plan for my crew to be collateral damage. You heard the man. Everyone start prepping, I yelled, following Hikaru behind. Sir, please, I have a question. Speak, Zoey. I'm all ears. What if we don't make it back? I was scared, but I didn't want the crew to know. For goodness sake, that was where my husband got killed. At least we died trying, he said, walking away. Prepare Type 1 for launch, he said to one of the men beside him. Everything was happening so fast. Breathe, Zoey, breathe, I whispered. I pulled myself together and walked into Cairo 2, the room where all mission preparations were based. It was buzzing with people trying to kit themselves up for the trip. The last time I saw the room this busy was when Saul and the others left. After everyone prepared, we moved to the boarding area. Get in, I commanded. Type 1 was large enough to contain 100 people, but we weren't 100. I was scared we would still get outnumbered. As we prepared for launch, I sat close to Kesha as she squeezed my palm in terror. Setting course for Tau Ceti E. These were the last words I could remember hearing. It happened so fast. Faster than I could even breathe. We were already in the atmosphere of Tau Ceti E. Destination reached. Type 1 buzzed in. Whew, hyperspeed had a dizzying effect. I opened my eyes and all I could see was darkness. From afar, I could hear the sound of running waters, and according to Saul, life is tenacious. Wherever there's liquid water, there's possibility for it to arise. But something didn't sit right. Everyone drop and survey the environment, Hikaru ordered. As we got off Type 1, I felt vulnerable, as if I had taken off my spacesuit. Everyone turned on their flashlights as they surveyed the place. I see something! A man screamed, as everyone moved to see what he had seen. Oh my god, Hikaru said. The water there glowed blue, like a deep, dark blue. What we saw looked like a woman who had been cut into half and thrown into a small body of water. Someone get her! Hikaru shrieked as two men hastened to get the two halves of the body. On reaching the water bank, they studied their gait and approached with caution. What do you see? Hikaru asked forcefully. Sir, it's not a woman, it's a... Suddenly their lights went off. We couldn't see them again. We didn't even hear a sound. Not one. What the hell? Hikaru screamed. There's something in the water! Shoot the water! In a frenzy, everyone fired into the water. Then, I heard a loud scream from afar. It was so loud, everyone had to stop shooting to seek cover. What the hell is that? Hikaru shrieked. There was silence for what seemed to be an eternity. Then, footsteps? I thought. Something was running towards us. At the point, I couldn't even let my brain comprehend what was coming. Turn off your flashlights and activate X-ray vision, I screamed. But I spoke too late. The creature had attacked about half of the team in a matter of seconds. I hid myself behind what I supposed was a rock. Dear God, help me, I whispered. The silence came again, as if the creature had vanished. Deafening. I turned on my X-ray vision and sneaked around searching for survivors. Dismembered bodies dotted the whole place, their faces disfigured beyond recognition. Zoey, Beth said, struggling to breathe. No. Stay with me, Beth. Beth, please. She had been split in half. Like a vegetable. There was nothing I could do but stare at her flickering eyes, the life slowly ebbing out of her dwindling to an end. My feet went cold. Even my breath began to scare me. I could hear the sound of others choking on their blood. From a distance, I could hear gunshots. This was my chance to move. I dashed off looking for a hiding spot. Finally, I stumbled upon Hikaru and 3 Russian men. "What is this creature?" I whispered, fear drenching my body.
"It's called an Aquarius, and we're going to take it back with us,"
Hikaru said. The reality of everything just happened to hit me at that very moment. "What the hell do you mean?"
"What part didn't you hear, Zoey? Step back or you might get hurt."
All this while NASA was trying to get the Aquarius for themselves. But why? Why waste our lives?
That's the problem with you ladies. You think everyone owes you an explanation, but I don't. "Launch the particle beam,"
he commanded. I had never seen the type of weapon they pulled out that day. It had to be the weapon they had been so secretive about in the laboratory. The weapon beamed a bright light, attracting the Aquarius as it raged towards us.
"Fire!"
Hikaru said. As it fired, a bright light swept through the whole place.
"Target down. Time to apprehend it."
They rushed to capture the creature. All I cared about was getting the hell out of there, and so I bolted away from them to find the rest of the team. I bumped into Kesha and Xerxes. Xerxes had been cut really deep. Kesha had tried making the bleeding stop, but he was losing blood so fast. And air. "We should move him to Type 1 and treat him," I said. I don't think we'll be leaving this planet. The bright light that gleamed will definitely attract more of those creatures," Kesha exclaimed hopelessly. It wasn't long. Screams of other Aquariuses were heard. This time they sounded very aggressive. So far, I hadn't been able to see any of the creatures. They seemed to move in the dark, and the only sign that anyone saw them was a scream, followed by silence. "Get up. Let's try getting to the ship," I commanded. Kesha had lost all hope as we snuck through the darkness with Xerxes. We finally made it to the ship. But no one was there. Hikaru and his team were probably killed by the same creature, given the screams I heard earlier. As we got in, we immediately set course to Earth and left. We arrived at the space station and rushed Xerxes in for treatment. "NASA is going to pay for this," Kesha said as tears blurred her eyes. I knew Xerxes knew something about the whole operation that NASA had going on behind our backs. We just had to wait for him to get better. Our space cameras had everything recorded, and I was ready to leak everything to the press.
"SDS, do you copy? Report status of the mission."
The administrator radioed the station.
"Flight engineer Zoey Fitzsimmons here,"
I answered. He was silent at first. The bastard didn't expect me to be alive.
"Report mission status?"
He said again, more urgently this time.
"I'm afraid not, sir. You assholes have been lying to us and putting our lives on the line. You shouldn't have messed with the planet. We shouldn't have..." "Zoey, what do you want.
He was buying time.
I'll be seeing you, sir.
And the line went dead. As I geared up to return to Earth, I entered the capsule, waiting for Xerxes, when suddenly the door shut closed behind me. The sight I turned to see made my heart cringe. It was Kesha. She muttered the words, "I'm sorry," with tears rolling down her eyes, and cut the oxygen supply. Then she hit the eject button, sending the capsule into the abyss of space. My heart rate started to slow down. Every nerve in my body pulsated to an end. The more I struggled for air, the more everything became blurry. In my dwindling moments, just before the last twinkle of life faded from my eyes, I pulled out my camera and hit a single button. Send. Then everything turned black into oblivion. It wasn't the revenge I had in mind, but it was worth it. Hey, Creepypasta fans, it's Teresa. Thanks for listening. To connect and support us, make sure to check out our Discord and Patreon links in the description. And remember, stay cosmic.